Uh, so Kunal, Simon Sinek, a very popular author, always mentions in his book the importance of why or the purpose behind a business. So now that we know what you do and how you do your business, so can you shed some light on why or your purpose of doing this business?
So I'm sorry to disappoint you, Atharva. The purpose of doing this business was it took very little money to start. It paid me very well, and the financial situation at home was such that I had to do something which satisfied the first 2 points. That's how the business started. It was not driven by some great purpose and stuff like that. But today when I talk to you today, I really when I see my clients growing from when a client is sitting before me on an idea level, and then 1 year later has an office with 200 employees, for me to be able to contribute to that growth is now I find purpose today when I look back. But when I started, there was no purpose. It was hardcore economic decision.
Like Steve Jobs said, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. Similar
Oh
kind of
yes.
situation, I think.
So in fact, a lot of people who talk to me, youngsters, keep talking to me about the purpose logic, and I always tell them that everybody wants to do a lot of things, and you can do a lot of things provided you space it out in five years. Then you can literally do a lot of
That's a
things.
very good advice for me at a personal level.
So, Kunal, you spoke about many youngsters seeking advice from you. So, since you have been teaching at multiple institutes, would you say that is it your love for teaching that took you there, or is it, or do you feel that it is every leader's responsibility to take up teaching in some or the other way so that he can create more leaders?
Oh yeah, good question. So I, as a student, always loved the visiting faculty. Whenever in school or college, they said that okay, somebody is going to come from so and so company or founder of so and so startup. I used to just wait for that because they were bringing industry to classroom. They were going to share some personal experience. I mean, some learning is going to happen. It's not like the teacher who is teaching 20 years again teaching the 20 first batch. So I really enjoyed visiting faculty, and that is when I made a promise to myself that whenever I get something worth sharing, I will also become a visiting faculty somewhere. And I think, as luck would have it, at a very young age, I got to teach at very good institutes. And because I had some nice cases to share and experiences to talk about, all of them renewed the contracts. With Flame, I am an adjunct faculty now. I spend 2 full days a week at Flame, and soon they are going to give me a larger engagement. I mean, similar offers come from other. So I like to be. So I do this with my professional also. Every couple of months, I create a CV and put it on Naukri.com, and I sit for some interviews to just understand my market value. So if I am being offered a amount more than what I make at the firm, I feel it's I mean it's good enough. So that's how it works. So teaching for me has always been trying to give the students a reality rather than covering a certain concept.
Right. So,
And my sorry to cut you, my feedback rating anywhere I've taught out of 10 has been above 9.5. That is another reason which I keep continuing because I know people are liking it. If I had got feedback that I'm not good, I would have stopped teaching.
Kunal, there was a particular incident where you, I guess, rapped in a classroom. So, is that right? Eminem's
Yes,
rap.
yes, yes. Yes,
So,
yes.
if you remember
So
the lyrics, can we have some of the rap?
it was lose yourself. His palms were sweaty, knees weak, arms were heavy, there's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keep on. I can actually sing all of Eminem's song, but I don't think it's appropriate for this time. So why I had shared that incident was you need to customize your content and delivery based on who is in front of you. So the way I teach at Flame versus the way I teach at TIS versus the way I teach at IIMs, it's a big difference.
right. So, one question that kind of combines entrepreneurship and teaching. So you know that I like public speaking and I am into finance. So at what point does one decide that they are good enough to actually teach? I mean, how do you decide if you're good enough?
So, like I told you, your client, your business start should be decided by your customers. Your expansion should be decided by your customers. If you're good or not in teaching, should be decided by your students. So, if you go to a decent college or a decent university to teach, they will have a very robust feedback system, and
Right,
the feedback doesn't lie. The students are extremely brutal, and the more the students pay, the more they feel like they are consumers. So
right,
they want a good service provider. That's the mentality, honestly, and they will not give you a second chance. So I think just do what you want to do. If the feedback is good, you are good. The problem is when you start thinking and self introspecting, that does not work.
right. So now let's come to a topic that is really interesting for me because it kind of relates to my work as well. So angel investing and entrepreneurship. So you have been an angel investor since 2015. So the obvious first question would be, how do you shortlist the entities or organizations in which you invest? So could you like give us three categories that are must for you to invest in an organization, and probably a couple of red flags, which if you see, then you will just cut the organization out irrespective of the other performances.
So I think maybe the profile came out too strong. When I say I'm an angel investor, the enterprises I've invested in have all been my students. And the only enterprise I've invested in have been social enterprises, where the investment required was very less, under 10 lakh rupees. That's about it. And the criteria I use to select people are people who are, gold medalist types, who are shining bright in academics or in extracurriculars. Because to shine in anything, you need a certain amount of consistent efforts. So Sanish was my first person I invested in. He was a gold medalist from TIS in Tulzapur, and he asked me for a very decent sum so that he could pay the office deposit and get a few computers and do some infrastructure for his office. Today, Sanish has close to 75 employees, and he teaches animation to, you know, underprivileged kids so that they can have projects of their own. So like
Oh,
that,
great.
I've invested in more than I think 30 ventures till now, where the amounts were not much, but my personal commitment in terms of the time I gave, consulting I gave, that was a lot. And also I've invested in people who cannot pay my fees. So sometimes it's a
Right,
person with a very good product or a process comes to me, but from a very bad economic background. So I tell him that I will take care of your patenting and go to market and sample, and whatever we make, we will share it in a percentage. So
right.
that's these are the two ways. And I don't get so many applications that I have to shortlist and like a venture capital firm. But I have two red flags definitely. One is when the person is not self-invested. So when a person is doing a job and is doing a startup and is doing something, I don't like people who have an affair with entrepreneurship. You need to be 100% into it. That is number one. And number two is people who, what do you say, that sincerity is missing.
Right.
So it really puts me off. I like people who are into their business, 24x7, who call me at 2 o'clock, who ask me more money that, we did a wrong calculation. I like people like that.
Right. So since your ticket individual investment amount is small, I don't think you will face a issue that SoundBank did with WeWork.
No. So I use the spray and pray policy. I invest in 10 of them and I just expect one or two of them to work.
Right.
And honestly, two of my investments have given me such good returns, which is more than 1 year's income of white collar. So
Oh, great.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Amazing.
Right. So now I have one question that arises from a personal connection as well. So one of my managers in the firm that I was interning at, and also my father to a certain extent. So they worked in the same organization for years together. And after that, it was almost like they were waiting for retirement to come. Whereas my manager was quite a skilled person, and if he wanted, he could have actually ventured into something new and started something of his own. So what would be your advice for those in, say, their late 40s or 50s who want to start something new? I mean, you are still young, but if you have any perspective on that.
I think, I mean, for pardon my language, but most people are pussies, honestly. People don't have guts, no balls, no risk taking ability, and they want the rewards that come with risk taking. It does not work that way. And my usually advice for people who want to get into entrepreneurship is either get into it before you marry or get into it after your children turn 18. Because before
Right.
marriage, your responsibilities will be very less and your reporting requirements will be very less. And after your children are 18, you have done your job as a parent. Now, you let them fend for themselves. As long as you have their education, college money, that's it. Let them earn for their marriage. And so that is what, no, people never uh, put a stop to,
Right.
starting something. So, and I think this trend is now happening where people are. So now I have a lot of friends who are at very senior positions in IT companies, and they're all shit scared because they have, I mean, because of the crisis, now only
Yeah.
the promotions and incentives, everything has been reduced, and some of them have been sacked also. So uh, I don't know. As an entrepreneur, the kind of freedom you experience and the kind of stability you have running your own business, it
Right.
cannot
Right.
compare to anything.
Right. So one thing on the other end of the spectrum, almost. So in the movie Super 30, we heard that Raja ka beta Raja banega. So this is
Huh.
pretty much what happens with entrepreneurs. That in India, at least from what I've seen, that the people who have been cultured or brought up in business-oriented families, they eventually become businessmen. And people say like Atharva or me, so we have had generations together who have been constantly in service and have been employees. So for people who have not had any background of business, so for them it is probably a bit tougher to take that leap. So how, like, since I think you have also been through a similar experience, how do you think one should actually get that leap successful? Like,
So first thing is you should not think that doing a job is a wrong thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing a job. I know a lot of my friends, a lot of my mentors. So my main mentor who pushes me to do entrepreneurship is an employee at a law firm, which is not his. So sometimes his advice comes to me as very hollow because he tells me this is to be done and the risk is all mine. So, everybody chooses their own life and how much risk they want to take. So I will not really judge. But what I did personally was when I graduated from law school, I decided to give 2 years to this practice. And I had a ICICI pre-placement offer of 14 lakh rupees when I graduated. And I
right,
said, if I don't make 14 lakh rupees in 2 years, that means I'm better suited for a job. That was the logic. And thankfully, I made more. So the journey continued. Otherwise, there is no shame in saying that it did not work and go back to a job. So my point is, people don't give themselves those 2 years, 3 years. They keep waiting for the perfect time, which never comes.
right,
So you spoke
And I
about
mean, in cases like yours, I mean, since you asked, I think there is a big mental shift that you need to take. And you need to, of course, take your parents in confidence also when you're talking to, because for them it is all absurd. Why such risk, stupidity? But you
yeah,
need to tell them that give me, and couple of my clients are YouTubers and they're doing very well. Mostly Sane is one of them. So Prajakta, when I met her, she also said, I told my dad that give me 1 year of trying this. If it does not work, I'll just go back to my regular job. And the dad said okay. So I think this is an argument everybody can use with their parents, that give me 2 years. If it does not work out, I'll follow your suggested route.
Right.
So Kunal, you mentioned your the role of your mentor in the field of law, that you have a mentor outside your office. So I also had a small t-shirt business wherein I printed t-shirts with trendy designs and sold them across colleges.
Nice,
So it
nice.
went about for 2 3 years. But initially it was all good, and after some time, you feel the need of mentors in your
Yes,
profession.
yes.
So, uh, how much, according to you, is the role of a mentor important in increasing your business, and what is the process of finding a good mentor?
Okay. Uh, on the first part of the question on the importance of mentor, Atharva, I mean, I can't stress enough or emphasize enough on how badly you need a mentor, and on all walks of life. Some mentors you need to, discuss your professional problems. Some mentors you need to just go and vent, and some mentors are like drawing boards. So you need to have various categories of mentors. Number one, they will save you a lot of time, because no matter how smart you are, wise you are, life teaches you certain things. So especially in my case, all my mentors are retired or close to retirement. So I enjoy talking to them. What you did right, what you did wrong, stuff like that. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, got a call. I had to cut it. And the second thing, in terms of how to find good mentors, I'll tell you how I found one. I used to follow Mr. Nitin Poddar, who is a senior lawyer at Jyoti Sagar Associates, since my college days. And I used to engage with him a lot, asking him questions and stuff like that. And once I wrote him an email that I'm starting practice and I've got initial clients, but I don't know exactly how to go about it. Can I come and ask you, interview you, and take your time? And he called me to the Bombay office, and we spent 4 hours chatting over lunch. And after that, we got into a deal that every week he will give me 4 hours. And
Right.
that I started in 2013. From then to now, it's continuous. So I think you just have to reach out. Most people are, just sitting to give mentoring. They want people to listen to them, and because
Right.
asking for help is only possible when you don't have ego.
Right.
So I think it really works out. The best I remember, I'll tell you one incident. In our college, we had this stupid technique of inviting Bill Gates to our college function as a keynote speaker. And every year we used to write to Bill Gates and all these big guys, and they used to respond very politely saying, oh, his schedule is busy, he can't come to India, and stuff like that. But we used to always invite. Once we invited Narayan Murthy sir, just like that, and he said yes, and he came. So what I'm trying to say is, in a world like today, where everybody is just one tweet away, you should always try. So my juniors keep inviting Elon Musk and Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai
Right.
all the time, and who knows, they might accept also someday. So it's just about reaching out, just
So
like
on that,
Vivaswan, who was scared earlier.
so on that, I like yesterday evening I dropped a message to Aaron Beverly just to
Yes,
invite him for the IPL tomorrow. So
yes.
during this interview, there was one notification of Aaron Beverly. So I don't know what is the result, but I hope that he can make it for the event. It will be great.
That's great. And
Correct.
did you send your video to Aditya Maheshwaram?
So I've dropped Aditya a text as well. So let's see what he says.
Okay.
Excellent.
So,
That's what
so
the the point is, to try and fail rather than never try.
right. Like now you have been mentoring us. So, what is the best advice or some of the key advice that you have received from your mentors? From your mentors.
There are so many actually over so many years, but I think couple of things remain constant. Number one is, they all talk about doing things and not talking about things. That's why everywhere I just say that execution is everything. If a person has 9 on 10 in execution and 1 on 10 in ideas or ideation, I will choose that person rather than a person who's 1 on 10 on execution and 9 on 10 on idea. Because execution is a skill that is rare. People
Right.
just talk and dream and all that is there. So that's one that I've always got, that execute. The second is consistency. Whatever you do, does it remain for 2 3 years? Otherwise, it's just like a hobby. So that's a second. And the third, very good advice I've always got is, as much as possible, try to be with family. So I've got a lot of opportunities to move in India, outside India, but I've never taken them because I'm very, at my heart, a very family person. So no matter how busy work gets, I'm at home before a certain time. I leave house only after having breakfast together. I don't compromise on these things, which my mentors say that they compromised. They did not attend their child's, events and all that, and they regret it because whatever money they make, so the relation with their wife or their child is in such a bad shape now that they can't repair it.
Right.
So I don't. That's a good advice I got. That don't take your family for granted.
Right. So on the first end, when you said about execution and ideation, I think Chet Holmes, the sales expert, has also said in his book that find someone who is a star, not just in strategic planning but also tactical planning. So I guess
Yeah.
you also echoed with his thoughts that
Yes.
both the aspects are important.
No, I was saying execution is much, much more important than
Okay.
ideation.
Right. Right.
So your
Okay.
IPL logic also that we spoke about,
Right.
honestly, Vivaswan, I've had so many ideas in my leadership journey in Toastmasters, and I've seen less than 1% of them being actually executed.
Right.
So I really commend you for executing.
Right.
Well,
Thank you
so
so much.
if speaking of mentors and advice, suppose if the viewers or any person wants investment or say advice or mentorship from you, what is the best way to reach you?
I think email is really good, and I love writing. And after a certain point after dinner, I just respond to a lot of people who are just wanting to share their thoughts with me and want my reply. So I think the reason I chose law was it actually all the things I love doing the most. Maybe it is speaking, it is writing, it is consulting, it is arguing. All it's a beautiful combination of all. I'm getting paid for it. So I think the best thing they can do is write an email to me, and based on how serious you are, I will share my number, and you know the engagement will get more better.
And about the social media accounts?
Social media accounts, if you have seen, I am not very responsive in terms of detailed responsive, because for me social media is just like a open diary. I don't treat it as a interaction forum, honestly. I like emails where you can talk at length, or calls where you can talk at length. Social media, you're talking at length with everybody watching, does not make sense to me. It is I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of a policy. So real discussions don't happen on social media, in my experience.
Right. So as we come to the close of this interview, I have just a couple of questions left.
Yeah.
So the main first question is, what's next for you, and where do you see yourself in the next couple of years, or say 5 years?
So, like I think mentioned in the course of this interview, I'm not that person. I don't plan anything. I just say yes to opportunities. So recently, I'm happy to share that I was approached by, thanks to my LinkedIn social media branding, I was approached by iCertis. iCertis is a Pune-based unicorn as for the position as a director in their company to join their board to lead their contract legal management tool across Europe and Asia and America, everywhere. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity immediately. And maybe I'll work with Google or Amazon after that. Who knows?
Excellent. Congratulations. That is
Congrats.
really nice to hear. So I think Atharva, 1 year down the line or 6 months down the line, we can have another interview with Kunal where he shares what his experience in ICETIS and abroad.
Google.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. So The final
So
question
like the
yeah.
movie Parasite, right? There is only one type of plan that does not fail, no plan.
Right. So, like, I have one final question for you now. I think, discussed this idea of starting a podcast with you some days back, and finally, it is starting to come to fruition. So, considering the execution that we have had for now, what would be your advice for us going forward?
I think three things. One is you have to very clearly define who your listeners are going to be and what are the kind of questions they are interested to listen to in terms of answers. That's number one. Second, and based on this data that you collect, you will understand who is the right person to interview. So it's all. So I think that background research is really really important. That's number one. Number two is how much you can. I don't know how you'll promote this, but for any medium of knowledge sharing, it's very important it reaches a certain critical mass. Otherwise, it will die
Right.
down. Even your own motivation to make more videos will die down. So, do
Right.
you have that skill set, to make it viral? Is something I'm really looking forward to see. And the third
Right.
thing is in terms of both of you, right? I didn't see a particular pattern in which questions were asked in terms of chronology. It was slightly, hodgepodge. So maybe you
Right.
can come out. So I think the best person you can, in my opinion, who interviews people is one is Trevor Noah. He's
Right.
exceptional in just cutting the bullshit and asking the tough questions. The second person is Tim Ferriss. Again, runs the best podcast in the world, the Tim Ferriss Show. You should really
Yeah.
learn from him. And the third is in India, Simi Garewal, the way
Yeah.
she interviews. So I think you can use those techniques a little more so that the interview goes through it has a life of its own from birth to death.
Right.
Thank you, Kunal, for the advice.
Because now
So,
it looked
thank
like
you.
slightly reactive.
Right.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, Kunal. It was great
Pleasure.
having you on the first episode over here. So, now if you have any final words for our audience, any outro, or if you want to plug in your social media handles, then you may do so. And also, please tell our viewers to like, share, and subscribe our social media handles.
Oh, definitely. So the moment I understand, I mean, I'll share this video and I'll share your handles. The only advice I give, maybe this might sound a little professional advice also, but please make something rather than just consuming stuff from Netflix and many other sources. Create something of your own. And if it is unique enough, register it. Life is very beautiful when there is passive income and when you are outside the rat race. I think that should be my closing remark.
Thank you,
Right.
Kunal. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Hope to see you some other episode of Mentor Chat.
Yes.
Point
Thank
for
you.
the viewers, please like, comment, share this video so that people who will benefit from this video can take advantage of all the knowledge that has been shared, and you in turn you can provide value to those people as well. Thank you for joining us.
Right. And here or here, you will see the subscribe icon. So just press on that and tick all the notifications so that you can be aware whenever we post a new video. We'll have all the handles for our social media and Kunal's social media link down below. So you can definitely check that out. Goodbye and see you in the next episode of Mentor Chat. Thank you.